I'm 35 years old. I live in Kent. Work a reasonably high skilled job, if you call it that. Reasonably well paid. And I've just come through the biggest shitstorm that is just so unbelievable. Basically, I was married to my childhood sweetheart, if you like. We were 18 and 16 when we got together. Come to 2017, we bought our first house, and then in 2018 we got married. And we had discussed things, like having children or the rest of it. And I always thought, especially after we were married, I thought, well, yeah, we could do, but it just didn't. Something was just off in my gut, and that feeling you get in your gut. I'm sure a lot of you guys do. I struggle with what I believe to be depression. I think I'm also slightly on the spectrum. I don't know whereabouts. My ex-wife is autistic. She got diagnosed officially with that about, I think it was 2021. And she very quickly became more autistic, if that makes sense. It may to some of you, it may not. And we're over the next few years after she got diagnosed, up to 2024, she again kept going banging on about children, and I just it just didn't feel right, because she had all kinds of health issues that would make it very difficult for us to have children. So fast forward to 2023, she gets offered a clinical trial, and I sort of begrudgingly went along with it, because if any of you guys are or have been married, all you want is for your spouse to smile, for your spouse to be happy. I went along with it. She fell pregnant in the August. I think it was July or August, I'm not sure. But by this point, unbeknown to me, I had pretty much. You might understand if if I try and explain what I mean. I still loved her, but I wasn't in love with her, and I'm sure a few of you may get that. I certainly know a few other people, like my friends or people that used to talk to me before we split, that are definitely in those kind of relationships. It's quite difficult. It was a very difficult, very, very difficult time. So that was August 2023-ish. And so unbeknownst to me at the time, I had fallen out of love with my ex-wife. And I think this happened before she was diagnosed, if I'm honest, because she, to all intents and purposes, didn't make much effort with her appearance. She didn't make much effort it's to be there for me. Every time I got frustrated, I had real anger issues. I used to smash things and punch walls, and I'm sure again a few of you have done these sort of things in frustration. And she basically stopped making an effort. And that kind of thing, just you don't realise at the time what's happening. So obviously by now my wife is at the time is God knows, 12 weeks maybe pregnant. And I've been working with, I work with mostly men. There were a few women, and one of those women that was in between all of these other men, I'd formed quite a nice relationship with, and it was completely innocent. But as time went on into the start of 2024, towards the end of 2023, I went into a bit of a spiral where I can only describe it as I felt like I was madly falling in love with this woman, which was the realest thing I'd ever felt. It's kind of scary, really, because when I was 18 and I got with my ex, I never felt anything remotely close to this. We had so little in common. With this other woman was just, to me, was just intoxicating, absolutely intoxicating. and I really can't say it any other way. It's, if you've been there, you've been there. If you haven't, you haven't. But it was just all consuming. So in the November 2023, I kind of worked out what was happening, which sent me into a spiral. And one morning I was standing at work, and I'd made a plan to go and try and jump in front of a train, because I unusually kept my car keys with me, not in my locker at work, or secure locker area. And I'd planned to slip out and try and kill myself somehow, because I felt totally, just completely trapped. You can probably put yourselves in these shoes, lads. Like you just feel totally at a loss, because my current wife was pregnant. I didn't get on with her. There wasn't any kind of connection there, really. I just did everything I could to try and make her happy. I worked on the house. I looked after her car. I did everything. Everything I could possibly do. It never felt quite enough. This other woman made me feel just at ease, and I don't know. I just felt there was something there, and obviously over time that progressed, and I fell for her. But on that hopeful morning when I planned to go and kill myself, I somehow, in between all the kind of horrible thoughts that I'm sure a lot of you have had where you've been where I was, found the strength to call 111 and to tell them what was going on, and just tell them exactly. I didn't really move from the spot for about 45 minutes. Luckily, no one noticed. They basically, called my doctor's surgery, who called me straight away and got me in that morning. Put me straight on sertraline, gave me 6 weeks of therapy, which did help. And once I was, under control with the drugs and stuff, then it did improve a bit. But these feelings were still there, and the kind of the manic depressive state I'd got into through feeling trapped was still there. And this went on and on and on until the April. And I was literally every day for like 3 months. So I'd gone home and just sat on the sofa with the dogs and just stared at a blank telly, because I was so just devastated with what was happening. Not just because I didn't understand it, but because I so desperately wanted to tell this woman how I felt. But I thought, well, I'm, you can imagine what it was like. I'm fucking married, mate. I'm fucking married. No, I'm fucked. I can't do anything here. I've got no wiggle room. Until the start of the April, mid-April maybe, my wife said to me like what the hell is going on with you? And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you just, you don't do anything. You just sit there. You text people and like you look at YouTube, and you're not doing any of the things you normally do that you enjoy, like gaming or anything like that on the PC. You just sit here. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said a few times, I'm sure I've heard you crying in your sleep next to me, and like it's woken me up. And then she wakes up, I woke up, so I didn't, I don't know. There a few times I woke up and I could feel my pillow was wet underneath me. But I didn't know what was going on. Probably a couple of weeks after that, she asked again and again, and through the couple of weeks, and eventually I said, look, I'll tell you exactly what's going on. You're going to think I'm insane. But this is happening, and I really need help. I don't know what to do, because I'm in a real pickle. And she said, okay, no judgment, what is it? And I pretty much, I just came out and told her what had happened, what was happening. Bear in mind, the woman in question, the other woman, had no idea, absolutely no idea at the time what was going on. She would have been absolutely like gobsmacked if she knew. But weirdly, my wife at the time was like, oh, right, okay. That's not what I thought you were going to say. This was probably a couple of months before our lovely daughter was born, our beautiful daughter, who's now 14 months old. Absolutely adore her. She said, well, basically, lads, what she said to me was, you need to try and get this out of your system. And I sort of said, well, what does that entail? She said, well, I think you need to tell this woman how you feel. Just so, you know, in her mind, that it'll be, she can tell me, no, I don't know what you're talking about, laugh at me. And fair enough, good idea. It'll be out of my system. So, I mean, that was already the bravest thing I think I'd ever done. I'd never had to muster up courage like it. You can imagine telling someone that you love but are not in love with that you think you're in love with somebody else, and telling her first, and telling her at all is from what other people have said to me, and, you know, various therapists have said to me, that is very unusual, and like, fair play to you, that's very brave. So I pretty much told this woman, it's just madness, absolute madness. We went out for lunch as friends, and I pretty much 5 minutes into the meal, she said the same thing. What the hell's wrong with you? Why are you so fidgety? Why are you so stiff? What's the matter? So you can tell me anything. And I was like, okay. And I just told her what was happening. And she did kind of giggle, which is, you know, quite a funny thing, I suppose. But then she said, oh, yeah, well, you know, this is my situation. I'm not with anyone at the minute, and I'm just playing the field a bit. And all words to that effect. It was all organised. It was all safe and all the rest of it. But she was playing the field a bit. And, oh, okay, fair enough. Like, no, that's not a bit of me. But the feeling in my gut just stayed. And I kept seeing her looking up at me and looking back down and looking up at me. And I was picking at my food, and it's so unlike me. I was such a foodie. I was just absolutely fucking pickled. Totally pickled. And I just said to her, are you sure? And she said, what do you mean? I said, is it just me? Is it just me that can feel that? Can feel this this energy between us? And that sounds really crazy, like a fairy tale, but I swear to God, you can feel it. I could feel it. And she sort of shook her head and said, no, it's not just you. And things sort of moved quite quickly. So in July 20 last year, my daughter was born in June. It was very healthy, very happy. His mum was absolutely fine. It's an absolutely beautiful little girl. I'm very, very grateful. Very proud dad when I have her. We basically got divorced in July. Started a divorce. I ended up with this other woman. I'm now sitting in a flat recording this voice message. I hope it isn't bored too many people. That I rent with my new spouse. You know, and everything my new spouse had said to me at the time we went out for lunch about her life and about her past was a red flag. There was a lot of drugs. There was a lot of alcohol. There was all kinds of stuff. Everything basically you wouldn't want to hear your bird say. She said it, and I just could not get rid of this feeling. But I'm here today. I am slowly weaning myself off the antidepressants, which is, you know, with my partner's help, because she's very, very clued up with all this stuff. She's had a lot of drug problems in the past. I don't know if anybody out there is having a similar situation, is it? A similar thing happening to them. I know the pain of being in love with someone else. So if you can find the strength to tell your current spouse what is happening, I absolutely applaud you for it, because nobody can ever take that from me, and nobody will ever take it from you. You're always going to be the bad guy, like, quote unquote, I'm always the bad guy. It doesn't matter. I only live 5 minutes away. It doesn't matter how much I do. I still pay half the mortgage. I pay half the bills. I pay half the rent and bills here. Where I live now, I do absolutely everything I can for my little girl, you know, who I absolutely adore, as I'm sure all of you do, who's got children, and whether you're separated or not. But it's been an absolute ordeal from when we got together, which would have been like middle to late May last year, until now. It's been hell, and I mean hell. There's been so many ups and downs. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just been an absolute roller coaster of emotion. But maybe the best thing I've ever done for my mental health. Obviously, there's lots of things about my new partner that aren't like my old one. And a lot of that I've had to have therapy to try and come to terms with. There's some not very nice stuff in there. But it's one of them. It's you sink or swim, and hope. I like to think that I've swum. I've swam in this situation. You know, everybody's happy, everybody's healthy. Still very amicable with my ex-wife. It's just such a bizarre situation. I don't feel like I could tell. I've got a handful of people that know. One of my best mates, who at the time said, "You are absolutely fucking bang out of order. What are you doing? You can't do this." And I just said to him, I went down to see him at his house. I said, I have to. And he gave me this look like, all right. He said, do what you got to do. But now he says, I could not have told you to do anything different to what you did. That is so brave. He said, you're probably in the top 0.1% of the bravest men on earth to do what you did, because you didn't cheat, you didn't lie, you didn't manipulate anyone, you didn't manipulate situations. I really, really tried, lads. You know, I really tried not to hurt anyone. Inevitably, I knew people were going to get hurt. It's one of those things. It was kind of a snap decision where, you know, you get the red pill and the blue pill, and the red pill is staying at home and pretending nothing happened and pretending that we didn't have that conversation at the pub that time, and then just going about our normal lives. But I chose the blue pill, and the blue pill has come with its own challenges. It's still challenging. I don't expect it to not be challenging at any point, but what I can say confidently is my daughter absolutely adores my partner, and vice versa. And we all just kind of work together to do our best for her. Like, between my ex-wife and myself, and my new partner and myself, we all do our best for her, and do as much as we can for her. So I just wanted to share this, because I don't think a lot of people, other than therapy, if I was to pay for therapy, I don't think a lot of people would believe what happened. But here I am telling you, you know, a load of random guys what happened. I don't know what to say, other than if there is anybody out there that's going through something similar. It was a bad time. It was bad timing on my part, but I don't feel like I had any control over that. It was kind of now or never, and I just chose now. Because I'm confident if my daughter had been born and then I'd approached this woman, it would have just brushed me off. So if there is anyone out there having these kind of thoughts about someone, or there is, God forbid, heaven forbid, someone else who is in a long-term relationship and doesn't fancy their partner, isn't in love, quote unquote, in love with their partner, still loves them as a person. I still love the person that my ex-wife is. I think she's a fantastic mum. I'd never ever take that away from her. We've all got our flaws. If there is anybody going through this, please find the strength to talk to someone, whether it's a close friend, whether it's just leaving a voice note on here like this, or if you absolutely think, you know, you get that feeling, and you will know. If you haven't had it, you will know if you get that feeling. If you just know it's right, it's right. And if you want to move on it, you know, there's people out there that have been through the same. You know, for all her faults, this woman absolutely means the world to me. And I know I mean the world to her, because she hasn't been with someone like me before, that takes care of her and just does things at home and is there for her and all the rest of it, where, you know, my ex had that on a plate and just, it didn't seem like enough. So God bless, lads. If anybody is going through this, just keep your head up. Just be brave, boys. Just be brave. Sometimes it's better to not cheat. I know a lot of people probably have been cheated on, and I've always stood by this, even when I was a teenager. If I wasn't happy with someone, I would leave. I wouldn't cheat. What I did was come clean and tell her what was happening. And just it's so unbelievable, but it's all just falling into place. If you are going through a shitstorm, lads, just keep walking.